Good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to all of you to the Hindu Explainer series. This is Kushagra Goyal, and all of you are very warm welcomed at the Legal Game, your one stop solution for all your law entrance exam preparations. Now, yesterday we tried out the new setup for all of you where we will be premiering the video, whereas and I will be using the comment section to keep a track on your questions. And today I'll be following up with the same format. A lot of you posted certain very pertinent questions regarding the preparation part, right? Some of the questions were very important for your long-term GK preparation. So we will be talking about those questions first and then moving on with the newspaper analysis for the day. So let's not waste a lot of time. Let's dive straight into it. So one of the big questions that a lot of you asked was what are the ways to improve your GK scores instantly? A lot of you are preparing for CLAT and you are also appearing in mock tests at different locations or different coaching institutions or at Unacademy, and you are worried that your GK scores are not improving. The other thing that is worrying a lot of you is that how do you cover the GK questions of the past months? So I will be responding to these questions first. Let's come first to how to improve your scores, right? Now, there are certain things that I want you all to get ingrained of, okay? The first thing is to chapterize the notes. The notes that you prepare. Even for example, today, I'll be telling you WHO or World Health Organization creating variants of concern for COVID-19. So we'll be talking about them. Now, how do you mark those? How do you keep a note of them? Is a key importance for how much you will be able to retain this knowledge. All right. The key part is to chapterize it. All right. Chapterize the notes. So, for example, let's say in the previous mock test, you got questions about COVID. Then COVID should become one of the chapters of your notes, and within that, you should be making your notes. Similarly, if your questions are pertinent towards economics, then economics will be the one. Okay, what you have to do is you have to pick up on past year's paper to see how much or what are the basic topics that do appear in the examination. For example, awards and Nobel Prizes, different awards. Then we have different reports, committee reports, or indexes that come every year. So those indexes then become important. They are one topic within which you will add different information. Fair enough. So first thing is to chapterize the notes. Only then you will be able to make your notes better, retain them. A lot of students, what they do is when they are making their notes, they make their notes based on date wise. So for example, आज November 27 है, November 27 को सर ने वेरिएंट्स ऑफ कंसर्न पढ़ाया, सो वेरिएंट ऑफ कंसर्न वहां पे लिख लिया. बट क्या होता है कि आप डेट वाइज चीजें रिमेंबर नहीं कर सकते. At certain point of time when you are closer to the examination, you will try to prioritize different kinds of things. Let's say you will be more close or you will be more confident to appear or prepare for awards and related category questions, but you're not that good with foreign policy, or for some it will be the other way around. So therefore the key is कि now you want to revise only foreign policy related events or foreign events, बट आप वो नहीं कर पाओगे. क्यों नहीं कर पाओगे आप वो? क्योंकि आपके नोट्स उस तरीके से है ही नहीं. लेट्स से बिफोर अ मॉक टेस्ट यू वांट टू डू अ क्विक रिवीजन ऑफ सर्टेन टॉपिक्स दैट यू आर वरीड अबाउट. Again, you will be handicapped because your notes are not chapterized correctly. This is a key problem that a lot of students face. So the first thing is chapterize. Chapterize your notes. Don't do them date wise. That's the easiest way to improve your scores. The second is add a foundation of basics related to different areas. You know that foreign policy is an important thing. Then China is an important thing. Or for that matter, the Indian economy is an important thing. So your foundation about these topics is to be there. Otherwise, you will not be able to mug them up. What is the relevance of Nobel Prizes? Why are they given? Why was this person given the Nobel Prize this year? So you need to answer those questions properly. तभी your foundation is strong if you know the history, the legacy of Nobel Prizes. Breathe in the general knowledge. Take, ingrain it. अपने आप के अंदर उसको मिला लो. It has to become one with you. Just like different mathematical formulations. Now if I tell you have to add 2 plus 2, automatically you will go to number 4. It has become ingrained knowledge. Similarly, foundational principles of foreign policy, foundational principles related to how the international system works should get ingrained in you. Only then you will be able to naturally answer these questions without much worry. Things will also start clicking in instantly. The moment you see the newspaper, your eyes will definitely just go to the important area and nothing more than that. So the key part is to do it this way. All right. Then the next step, once the foundation is there, once you have chapterization of notes, the third thing that comes or has to happen is complement it with current updates. So Indo-China border dispute is a big topic, or border disputes of India is a big topic that has been coming in CLAT for the past 2 years. So you know it's a big thing. Now your foundation is there. You know what has happened in the past. Now your scores will improve when you will add current updates. What has happened recently? So for example, PGK Menon, who had been heading the commander level talks, has now been moved on. Someone new has come in. Similarly, the same has happened at the Chinese counterpart level. So now you will be directly complementing your information. If you are aware that India's democracy has been sliding, the moment you will hear about democracy index, you will be like, oh, Freedom House is there. Freedom House had talked about India becoming an electoral autocracy. We are one of the biggest sliders of democracy at the world. So then naturally things will add up. Because democracy is sliding, Nobel Prize this year has been given to a journalist. The last time it happened was when again authoritarian governments were on the rise. Nazi Germany, 1935. So these things have become ingrained in me. You all can also do it. See, I did CLAT in one attempt. एक बार में clear, without much worries. Have the belief that you can do it too, alright? So your scores will improve if your notes are chapterized, if you have a foundation of principles that govern general knowledge or different world structures, and third, then you are updating yourself on a daily basis. Then lastly, अब a lot of students get worried कि सर मॉक में मार्क्स नहीं आए, जीके में करेक्ट नहीं हो रहे क्वेश्चंस. My suggestion to you is don't use your mocks as a measure to mark yourself low. Okay? Use your mock test as a question bank. कोई टॉपिक आपको नहीं आता, इफ यू आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ अ टॉपिक दैट हैज कम इन मॉक टेस्ट, वेरी गुड, दैट्स अमेजिंग. अब आपको उसको पढ़ने के लिए 2-3 किताबें नहीं पढ़नी पड़ेंगी. यू डोंट हैव टू डू गूगल सर्च. ऑल यू हैव टू डू इज look at the mock test, look at those questions, look at the correct answer and make a note of it. Question आया, who was awarded the 2020 Nobel Prize in the category of literature? आपको आंसर नहीं आता, आपने करेक्ट ऑप्शन देखा, वहां से नोट कर लो. अब खत्म. Now you have been able to get the correct answer. All you have to ensure is that eventually when the question gets repeated in the CLAT examination, you do not get it incorrect. Okay, certain mock tests you will score more, some you will score less. But the thing is, in the ones that you score low, you have to make sure that you make notes of the questions. Okay, make notes of the questions that have come. This is the key. Add them to your chapters, different chapters in which those questions are related to. That is going to help you do better. All right, so this, if you are following these three, try it for at least 2 weeks. 2 week तक try करो. Trust me, it will work. And if your scores do not improve, tell me. But I am sure that 2 weeks later, when we are discussing the December 12th newspaper, you all will tell me that, sir, my scores have improved immensely. So if you are doing these 3 steps, then your scores will definitely improve. All right. Now the next question that students have asked is how to cover past GK topics. Okay, my suggestion to all of those who are worried about the past 12 months right now is please stop that. Don't be worried about the past. Focus on the current and upcoming topics first. पहले current का base बनाओ. Things that are happening right now, add them. 6 महीने पहले जो हुआ उससे ज्यादा क्वेश्चन नहीं आते. Bulk of the questions come from the time period of January to May. इस टाइम पीरियड के अंदर जो क्वेश्चंस आएंगे, जो इवेंट्स होंगे, उस पे सबसे ज्यादा क्वेश्चन बनते हैं. बल्क, दैट इज 70% ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस कम फ्रॉम दिस एरिया, नॉट ऑफ द प्रीवियस इवेंट्स. ऑलराइट, अगर कोई डे है जिसकी थीम के बारे में क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा, then those days and dates will also be 2022 based, not 2021 January. पहले के क्वेश्चंस पे नहीं आएंगे सवाल. ऑलराइट, फोकस ऑन द करंट इवेंट्स फर्स्ट, then revision. Or for example, if you want to revise what has happened, you have been keeping a track on events but now you want to revise them, the revision has to come when the foundation is there. Don't worry about revising things at the moment when your foundational principles are not clear. आपको पता ही नहीं है कि United Nations, UNESCO is a बाइंडिंग बॉडी और नॉट. यू आर नॉट अवेयर कि जनरल असेंबली क्या होती है या सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल क्या होती है. तो आपकी फाउंडेशन वीक है, तो यू आर बाउंड टू गेट कंफ्यूज्ड. तो यू ऑल माय फ्रेंड्स हैव टू फोकस ऑन गेटिंग द फाउंडेशन करेक्ट फर्स्ट. जीके में द की टू बीइंग कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट गेटिंग क्वेश्चंस करेक्ट इज टू हैव अ फाउंडेशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग. तो वो अगर आपके पास है, then your half of the job is already done. Informed guesses will come, informed elimination method will also start coming into you if your foundational principles are correct. Then lastly, my time period for revision of past events is January end. January end is a good time because by then economic policies of the country is in place. By then days and dates ka themes have been announced. By then most of the important summits have taken place. By then different events that have been happening for the past 4-5 months, they reach their complete arc. एक कोई न्यूज इवेंट होता है, उसकी एक आर्क होती है, स्टोरी आर्क. ऑलराइट, 6 months is a good time for a story arc to get completed. So by the time we reach January end, half of the events that have been happening, let's say Indo-China border dispute, commander level talks, they will have reached a substantive arc, at least something to note down of, right? अभी बहुत सारी reports and indexes will get released in month of December and early January. तो अगर आप पुराने इंडेक्स पढ़ रहे हो फिर आपको जनवरी एंड में नए वापस से पढ़ने पड़ेंगे, तो अपना काम क्यों इंक्रीज करना. हमें स्मार्ट पढ़ाई करनी है. All of you have to do smart studies and not follow the herd. So the herd will do things double, triple time at incorrect time period. Just like cricket में होता है ना, shot की timing होती है, right? Certain moments you have to arrive on time. You don't have to arrive early. At certain times when you have to make a mark, you have to be on time. टाइमिंग करेक्ट होनी चाहिए शॉट की. उसी तरीके से कुछ टॉपिक्स का, जैसे पास्ट ईयर जीके टॉपिक्स, दे नीड टू बी रिवाइज्ड ओनली एट द जनवरी एंड. अभी उनका उतना इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं है. ऑलराइट, सो मूविंग ऑन विद दैट, लेट्स डाइव इनटू द न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस. सो ऑन द फ्रंट पेज we have a big news related to a new variant of concern. All right, so we'll be talking about this, but before we do that, the Prime Minister yesterday spoke at the Constitution Day. This is a ceremony that happens every year. 26th November is celebrated as Constitution Day in India, and it is the day when we adopted our constitution. Okay, it did not come in force, but we had adopted it. All right, so this is the key part. Adoption of the Indian Constitution happened in 1949 on November 26. Okay, so that is the importance of the day in general. All right. Then we, on the left hand side, is another small news that is of importance for us before we do to the big one. Supreme Court seeks centers Asthana's response to plea by NGO. What is this about? This is about Delhi Commissioner appointment. Okay, Rakesh Asthana, he has been appointed as the Chief of Delhi Police. Now, in that regard, Delhi Police Chief Commissioners or any police commissioner is a IPS officer. They are appointed by UPSC. When you get selected in UPSC, you are appointed different cadre. That is, geographically you are divided. Now for Asthana, the cadre was changed 4 days before he was supposed to get retired. So in that regard, a NGO has filed a plea that how can you change a cadre of a person just before his retirement to provide him with employment at a later point of time. This is that you are amending the set norms of bureaucracy. This would lead to more and more favoritism. If, for example, there is a bureaucrat who wants to continue remaining in power, then what will he do? Rather than being objective and being correct, they will focus on pleasing their political bosses, which is not the purpose of bureaucracy. So therefore, this plea will become an important one, especially because this year we have also had CBI and ED's tenure extension. That headline has also come this month. So that itself, this news and that one are interrelated. All of them are related to impartiality and infunctionality of bureaucratic officers. So therefore, we will keep an eye on this news in that regard. Then, apart from this, on the front page, nothing of note. Implement prohibition law effectively. This is ban on liquor. Delhi air turns toxic, and then show that celebrated 200 years. This is Ghare Bhaire. This was a museum exhibition that was being displayed, which is now being shut down. Nothing of note for us. Okay. On the right hand side is also a news related to judiciary. In this regard, CBI has got permission to file a case against an ex-High Court judge. Whenever this is the case, whenever there is a case of corruption that has to be sought against senior level officials in the ministries, for example, secretaries, additional secretaries, judges, all of them, you need a sanction, you need a grant from the union government to sue these individuals if it is during or post the period of their retirement, during their period of retirement, or even during service. Both the times you need approval from the union government. So that has been granted. It is primarily against Justice Shukla of Allahabad High Court and former Justice of Odisha High Court, that is I.M. Kudeshi. So we need to keep an eye on this, but the law is that you need permission from the union government for the same. Now let's dive into the Omicron new variant of concern. Yesterday we had talked about the name of this variant. I had highlighted to you the genealogy of the variant, which has been first detected in South Africa. What is the genealogy? It is B.1.1.529. That is the form of it. Now, WHO has categorized it as a variant of concern. Till now, the one big variant of concern has been known as the Delta variant. Okay. Now, so before we do that, I want to inform all of you that the way to get the notes that you will be seeing here is through this link, that is bit.ly/KUSHGK notes. All the notes related to newspaper analysis can be found there, and all the updates about timing of classes apart from newspaper analysis is provided on the Telegram channel, that is KUSH AGRAGOYAL, the legal game, Kushagra Goyal, the legal game _Unacad. The link to it is also in the description box. Now, at this moment, I also want to highlight that today Unacademy is conducting a very special mock test for all of you. This will happen on 27th November at 5 p.m. It goes live at 5 p.m. Rank 1 student will get 5,000 rupees as Amazon voucher plus 100% scholarship for their 6-month subscription. CLAT is 6 months away, so you will be able to avail our paid subscription classes for free of cost. Rank 2 and 3 will be able to do it at half the cost, and they will be able to receive 3,000 and 2,000 respectively as Amazon vouchers. Those with rank 4 to 10 will get 500 rupees as cash voucher plus 10,000 as 10% scholarship. So do appear for the mock test, discuss with me your queries, how did you fare in this in the Telegram group. So, and lastly, for those who do not want to appear for the mock test but want to focus on building up their groundwork for CLAT, I have started a monthly revision series part of it. In that regard, I am covering 5 essential CLAT GK revision topics. So this will be at 5 p.m. It will be a special class on the Unacademy Learners app, not on YouTube but on the Learners app. The link is in the Telegram group and also in the description box, so you can enroll yourself for this class. You will get notified at 5 p.m. when the class begins. Alright, so make sure that you do that. And if you do not know who I am Kushagra Goyal, a graduate from National Law University. I have assisted students to achieve AIR 4, AIR 16 and did a YouTube series that got 90% of the questions correct. Now, variants of concern. What is a variant of concern? SARS-CoV variant of concern meets the definition through a comparative assessment. There are 3 criteria that determine this, okay? Whether a variant is a variant of concern or a variant of interest. क्या होता है? Viruses keep mutating themselves. They mutate themselves in human body. They also mutate themselves in host bodies. Alright? But when they are multiplied, just like human beings also, they make a mistake. When they make a mistake, their original genealogy changes to something else. If they were XX, now they might become XX minus 1. So they keep making these mistakes. Certain times these mistakes become more potent as a virus disease, and that mistake or the change that has happened may start multiplying on its own also. This is when those things, those changes that we call, they are known as variants. When a variant becomes something that leads to an increase in transmissibility or detrimental change in COVID-19 epidemiology, that is, it changes the nature of the virus, it makes it more and more transmissible for other people to get infected by it, then it can be called a variant of concern. The other reason could be increase in virulence or change in clinical disease presentation. So, for some people, if we have better immunity, the virus doesn't multiply enough to a significant level to cause any damage to our body. However, certain variants are more potent against antibodies in our body. So, if a variant has more chance of an increase in virulence, then also it can be called a variant of concern. And lastly, a decrease in effectiveness of public health or social measures or available diagnostic vaccines and therapeutics. Now, if, for example, there is nothing new happening, but suddenly the medicines have stopped working on the virus, or whatever treatment we know of has stopped working, then also we can call it a variant of concern. So 3 factors: increase in transmissibility, increase in virulence, or decrease in effectiveness of treatment. If either of these things are present, then we identify a variant as a variant of concern. Otherwise, what we call them is variant of interest. For us, the definition becomes important and the overall nomenclature. So what are till now the variants of concern? Till now there are 5 that have been identified as variants of concern. The first one was alpha. Okay, alpha was B.1.1.7. It was first identified in UK. It was also, if you have been following the headlines, known as the UK variant of COVID-19. Okay, it was designated. Designated date or date of designation is not that important. Okay, इसको इतना याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. So don't worry about it that much. Then the next is beta version. So South Africa had identified another version earlier. This was B.1.351. Okay. Then we had the gamma version, gamma variant. Okay. This was first found in Brazil. It had P.1 as its nomenclature, or pango lineage as it is called scientifically. All right. Then the delta variant was the one that was primarily dominant during the deadly COVID second wave. All right. What was the delta variant? The delta variant was B.1.617.2. Okay. So this variant had become a huge concern in India and in the world also. Okay. It became a variant of interest on 4th April and then a variant of concern by 11th May. Okay. Then the newest one. The newest one is Omicron. Omicron has first been identified in South Africa, but WHO has claimed that it is in multiple countries instead of just one country. The lineage of it is very important to be noted down. B.1.1.529. Alright. So two very important ones that have been in India for CLAT preparation. Also we need to know the Delta variant, because this was the one that was primarily seen in India, and then the Omicron version. Omicron variant, which is B.1.529. Alright, so these two things, that their names, their lineage become very important from our preparation point of view. Then we will be seeing in the editorial section the most important thing, alright, which is National Family Health Survey. Okay, we have been talking about it. So moving on, yesterday also marked 1 year of protest by the farmers outside Delhi. Okay, and in that regard, what will be the future course? Till now, the government has planned to repeal the laws, but the demand of the farmers were also for MSP and other things. So how will they go forward? That needs to be seen. Then moving on the editorial side. Apart from this, on the national news, nothing of note. The main editorial is the one that requires a definite close reading. Okay, in terms of National Family Health Survey, there have been certain positive news, certain things of caution. So one of the big positive news is the TFR. TFR of India has gone below 2. Below 2 means it has breached or reached replacement level. That now Indians are not going to produce or going to increase their population. They will reach a peak and then they will start declining. Something that has happened in Europe, because more and more Indians are now not producing more than 2 children. Women in India have now, majority of Indian women are not producing child above 2. That means that we are now not going to replace the current level of population. We are going to decline. So the boogie is off the back, the monkey is off the back of all of us, that forced family planning does not work. Awareness works, which has been working. So that's a one big plus. This other big plus is the increase in sex ratio. For the first time in India, we have a positive sex ratio. That is, there are 1020 women for every 1000 male. Okay, but the editorial points out that at certain point of time, that is at the adult level, right now also we still have more boy child than at girl child. So overall we do have more women than men, but on a deeper reading, if we see, the number of women is still low, and there is still a propensity to prefer a boy child over a girl child. Having positive sex ratio means that we are able to successfully deal with forced abortions, female feticide, but that doesn't mean that the ills are over or we have moved beyond them. Okay, so these are two positives of the NFHS. But what are the negatives? The negative is a rise in hunger and malnutrition. And more Indian children are becoming anemic, that they are not receiving enough number of nutrients that are required for their overall growth. This has been highlighted in our second wave of COVID-19 also, that our overall health infrastructure is very weak. If our overall health infrastructure is weak, then the overall awareness towards becoming healthy is also less. When there is less of that, we are, even if we are not going hungry, the number of people dying because of hunger may have gone down, but the overall level of nutrition of Indians is still not increased. So that is what the second part of the editorial is highlighting. It makes a comparison from the previous NFHS and states that we need to do something more to actually reach and eliminate hunger. One of the big achievements of the Communist Party of China has been that they have been able to eliminate hunger completely and eliminate poverty from most of the regions. Alright, so that is a key part to be noted down. Then we move on the left hand side, shore up the lifeline. This is talking about how Manrega, demand for under Manrega is huge. So what is Manrega? Manrega is a scheme for rural employment. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Okay, or guarantee scheme. It is for rural employment. 100 days of employment is guaranteed under Manrega. 100 days of work is guaranteed. Everyone who wants work in rural areas will be guaranteed work under Manrega. However, there are much more people demanding work than the payment or the work being supplied by the government right now. So this year during the union budget, the overall budgeting of Manrega was reduced, but it was hoped that economy will revive, it will bounce back, but we had the second wave. So the demand glut has happened in the society or at rural areas. If demand glut is there, there is less of other kind of work available, so people want Manrega work. So the editorial talks about that, see, this is a lifeline for people to survive themselves, to live a life of dignity. So therefore much more needs to be done. That funding should be continued for the same. Then the rate reset. This is the one that we talked about yesterday. It is talking about how GST needs to become rational, that it needs to have less number of rates, ideally only 3 slabs instead of the current 4 or 5, or sometimes if you have businesses of a different complexity, then you even have 8 number of GST slabs or tax rates. So GST was supposed to have one single tax, but that is not happening. So probably now that we are 5 years into GST, the rate slab should be rationalized. Overall also, the effective rate of taxation on commodities in India has reduced from 15.5% to just 11.6%, which will lead to shortage of revenue. If there is less revenue, governments will be able to do less. So therefore, they need to do more to correct it. So that is the idea, that GST rate should be rationalized. It needs to be seen how and when it will be done. On the right hand side is Indian agriculture needs a Varghese Kurian. This is the success of the milkman of India, Varghese Kurian, Bharat Ratna awardee, plus the man behind the success of Amul, the cooperative dairy movement of Amul. Till now, what was happening in India, each milkman was going and selling their individual milk in different areas. There was no collective system. Or there is a private company. If the other model was private companies, they will start their own farms, then they will supply milk. But Varghese Kurian came up with the idea that there will be Amul agents who will collect the milk from local farmers and milk producers. All that milk will then be given to the plants and then packaged and provided. This was the success of cooperative movement, that everyone is there, not one single ownership. The aim is to have naturally employed people, that the more you provide, the more you earn, without actually being worried about any demand per se. So it was the cooperative movement of Amul. This was in the dairy sector. This has succeeded in creating India as the largest milk producer of the world. But in other aspects of agriculture, we have not been able to repeat. So yesterday also was the 100th birth anniversary of Varghese Kurian, and now there is a demand that agriculture sector also needs more and more people like Varghese Kurian. That instead of government sector or private sector, we need cooperatives to work for everyone. Okay, so then we move on. A feel of victory but fields of discontent. This is about Punjab and what is happening. Have in general political article, nothing of note for us. MPs are defenders of dignity of the parliament. This is the comment of the president during the Constitution Day function. Okay, political posturing by the two political parties, nothing of note for us. Then we move on the news on the left hand side. Multi-dimensional poverty. In terms of that, Bihar has stopped it despite having Nitish Kumar as the CM for almost 15 plus years now. The overall percentage of poverty in Bihar has not actually improved. Now, this is the index similar to the multi-dimensional poverty index done by Oxford and Oxfam. So Oxfam does it on national level using the same data matrix of Oxfam. The Niti Aayog comes out with a multi-dimensional poverty index of Indian states, that within India, what is the state of poverty of different individuals. So this index, Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative and UNDP, they come out with the Oxfam in or multi-dimensional poverty index every year. Okay, in terms of this, the Niti Aayog comes up with the India one. Okay, in that regard, the states in the Hindi heartland, the ones that have the highest number of population, the ones that have the highest number of MPs in the parliament also, are the ones that are chronically poor and have been remaining poor for years now. Most of the chief ministers in these states are actually the ones who have been long serving chief ministers. If we look at Rajasthan, it has had Ashok Gehlot and Vasundhara Raje, two different national parties for almost 20 years, yet the number of poor people is still high. Then we move to Madhya Pradesh, has had Shivraj Singh Chauhan for 15 plus years now. Then we have Uttar Pradesh since 1990, National Party. Then governments have kept on changing. Since 1989, no party has retained power in Uttar Pradesh. It has always changed hands. Yet the state of the state is such poor. Then in Bihar, we have had Nitish Kumar as the CM for the bifurcated Bihar since the bifurcation itself, and yet the state of poor. Then in West Bengal, again, the state with another high percentage of poor, we have Mamta Banerjee, and before that we have had the left front. Again, the number of poor is very high. All right. So in terms of politics, these states need to change something. All right. For us, what is important? Which state has the highest percentage of poor? Bihar. All right. Which state has the lowest number of poverty levels? Kerala. Kerala has the lowest number of poverty levels, 0.71% people, followed by Pondicherry and then Lakshadweep, Goa and Sikkim. Okay. So this is the key part that we need to note about. In terms of Indian states, it's less about the mandate or how it comes about, how we create the index. It's more about the rankings themselves. ALET के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा इस तरह के questions आते हैं. All right. So that is where you have to keep an eye on. Then moving on, the big news is Vladimir Putin will visit India at December 6th. This is part of whether India and Russia are able to rebuild their ties. For the past 3-4 years, the ties between India and Russia have been going downhill. Okay, which is highlighted in the other news. India, China, Russia meet reveals Indo-Pacific gap. Beijing opposes democracy summit. This is going to be chaired by Joe Biden. We talked about it yesterday. Once it is there, we will talk about it. Then India in talks with Pakistan over Afghan aid. Aid to the Afghan people. How will it be provided? Needs access to the land route by Pakistan. That is the key. Yesterday was also the 13th anniversary of the terrorist attacks in Bombay, the infamous 26/11 attacks. Till now, Hafiz Syed and other masterminds of the terror attacks, against whom India has provided enough evidence to Pakistan. It is the inability of Pakistan to actually take action against terrorists that have retained them on FATF or Financial Action Task Force grey list. Okay, this is the key reason why this has been happening with Pakistan. Okay, then we move on. Apart from this, on the other news, so success rate of Covishield is 63% against Delta variant. Now it needs to be seen whether we are able to push forward with the idea of, or how successful it is against the Oxycron variant of the virus, or the Omicron variant, sorry. Then there is Attorney General's suggestion for a new National Court of Appeal. For almost 11 years, Attorney General K.K. Venugopal, and before that when he was just a senior advocate of the court, is called for a Court of Appeal. Till now, India has a structure of, there is a Supreme Court, below it is the High Court, then below it are the district courts, right, or subordinate courts as you may call them. Okay, or lower courts. Just for ease purposes, we have lower courts. The idea is that there is a huge pendency of cases in India, and it almost takes 20 to 25 years for a case to get resolved. As lawyers, this is a topic that is very, very important for us. K.K. Venugopal has suggested there should be a Supreme Court. Between it should be NCA, National Court of Appeal. Then there should be High Courts, and then there should be lower courts. Okay, the idea is to actually have another court which will have 4 branches stretched in different corners of the country to improve the access of justice for the people. Access to justice is part of right to life of the individuals, and it is a fundamental right. Therefore, there is a burden now, as he spoke at the session, there is a burden on the judiciary and the government to ensure that this system comes into place to provide more access to justice. Okay, so this is the key. If it happens, it will require a constitutional amendment. It will require a constitutional amendment to the overall structure. Yesterday we talked about, the question was Article 368, that is the amendment procedure under Indian Constitution. To create a constitutional amendment of this stature, we will need to have a constitution amendment of the third degree, that is one similar to GST bill that was passed in 2017. All right, so in that regard, it needs to be seen if we are ever able to do it. When I was very young, that is when I had read his article in the Frontline magazine almost 11 years ago, when he first proposed this idea. Since then, almost no work has been done in this regard. Then we move on to France scraps migrant talks with United Kingdom. This is on the English channel, nothing of note for us. India urged to spell out firm policy on Tibetan community. India has granted asylum to Dalai Lama and the government in exile of Tibet. Tibet was taken over by the Chinese in 1950. A rebellion in 1959 was crushed, and under Xi Jinping, China has been crushing different cultures and has been imposing one China, one culture. That there should only be one language, one way of life that is being imposed in by Xi Jinping. Because of this, more and more Tibetan people are being pushed away. They are losing their cultural relevance. India had taken the burden back then under Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to continue with it. This legacy of assisting the Tibetans has continued ever since. Okay, so it now needs to be seen whether the current government is able to take a firm stand. India has repeatedly taken a firm stand against the human rights violations of people in Xinjiang and Tibet, and recently has spoken about it again and again. So it needs to be seen now that what is the future of this. All right, so that is what the article is all about. Nothing to note as of now. Okay, apart from this, on the world news, nothing of note. As the concern of a new variant comes, the stock markets across the world have been tanking. They have been losing overall space since yesterday. So overall 3% loss yesterday, then another loss a day before that. So that has been happening. Technical news, nothing of note for us there. Then on the sporting side also, nothing to be noted down in terms of particular importance, right? Then on sporting side also nothing. So we move on to what all do we need to note today. All right, so in terms of what we need to note today, first is National Family Health Survey number 5 findings, then multi-dimensional poverty index, by Niti Aayog. Then we talked about variants of concern. Let's do a quick revision of variants of concerns once again. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta and Omicron. Okay, Omicron is the latest one, B.1.1.5.529. Very important. The newest edition of variant of concern. Prior to that, the one that was the big concern was delta, B.1.617.2. Okay. Earlier it became a variant of concern, then it was demoted to the category of variant of interest because the vaccines were able to sustain against this variant. So these three news become very important. Variant of concern, Omicron, okay, B.1.1.529, that is the genealogical name of the variant. Very important to be noted down. On that note, we will conclude the newspaper session for the day. Once again, I want to remind all of you that today is a special class, 1 hour class to cover 5 important CLAT revision topics. Do make use of this revision class and log into the Unacademy Learners app. Use my code KUSHGK to access this class for free. So if you are a new user, log into the app for the very first time, search me as an educator, Kushagra Goyal, and you will be able to directly go to the class. If you do not want to do any of that, just join the Telegram channel and I will be providing the link to the class there. So make sure you make aware of that. On that note, I want to also inform all of you what are the benefits of special class. A special class is where you get notified when the class starts, you get access to lecture notes directly, you don't have to go to any separate links. You can access these class from anywhere, any point of time. And if you're looking for a dedicated batch to study for your preparation for CLAT, you don't have to go anywhere else apart from Unacademy's Learner app. We have paid subscription batches where you, along with other students, just like a physical coaching, but with much more accessibility. That is, you can do them anywhere, anytime. All the classes are recorded, so any number of times you can watch these classes. Plus, you get access to national and sectional mock tests. If you want to take a subscription and want to avail a discount, use my code KUSSGK for an additional 10% discount on your subscription fee. Subscribe to at least 6 months because the exam is now 6 months away. Most of the new batches that are coming up will run for 6 months for CLAT 2022. One of them is the batch on Excel law. This is a 6-month batch for comprehensive preparation. And if you are looking for daily tests which are free of cost, you can avail of the weekly T20 test or the Unacademy Law Aptitude test. It is a 16-minute test, a shortened version of the CLAT test. Okay, there are other batches for those who are looking for LSAT, Let's Crack LSAT, and Gable Makers for CLAT 2023 aspirants. So on that note, thank you so much, all of you. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you are a dedicated follower of the newspaper series, I'm humbled by your presence on a daily basis and the faith that you repose in me. On that note, I will take your leave. See you all on Monday. Thank you so much. Take care.